The College Project wishes to advise that the views expressed in this podcast are not our own and do not represent Christ College or our sponsors. Our guests are individuals with their own ideas, which we do not necessarily support. This is an unbiased broadcast.
Kia ora and welcome to the College Project. This is the student-run podcast of Christ College. My name's Ethan.
And I'm Angad, and today we are here with someone who we have been trying to get on from the very day that this idea came about.
Yep, he's a living work of art. He's a local legend, and we're so happy to have him on today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
the Wizard of New Zealand, officially. How are you?
Well, it's a very fine day, and I'm in good health still, I'm glad to say, and preparing to burst out of my bonds. I've been trapped for 25 years, like I've been insisted in the system of some sort of organism, so I can't be allowed to speak or to appear or to be mentioned. You'll find in all the dozens and dozens of pages put out by the New Zealand tourism people, by the City Council, by Canterbury Tourism, there's not a single mention that have a wizard even exists in New Zealand or in Christchurch. So I'm not there. I've been, cancelled, disappeared. As I've got no criminal record, apart from dodging the census, and that's not really criminal, I don't think they can't find a reason to stop me. As I don't give any clear statements which they can interpret as sexism or racism, they can't even get me there. I'm guilty of being a monarchist, and that is pretty bad news. I mean, how many school teachers would dare praise the monarchy today? They'd be out of a job, you know. Or I'm also an imperialist. I think anti-imperialism is much worse than imperialism. Violence, terrible, brutal regimes. Kleptocrats. China's an imperialist. Russia's an imperialist. America's an imperialist. But British can't be imperialists because we're too nice. You see. We do it well, and we have good manners, and we put in schools and railways. And when they were to leave, do you want to leave? Off you go. Which is not like other imperialism. Which is why no school teacher anywhere in the British Empire would dare praise British imperialism. They daren't. Because the Russians and the Americans and the Chinese will be furious and tell them they're all bloody imperialists. So that's one of my problems, is I've got the wrong set of ideas. This is what I was taught as a child, mind you. In my school, it was a great thing, British Empire, you know, boys' own annuals, you know, the monarchy. And I can't see that things have improved much, quite frankly. After all, who stopped the Nazis? Was it the Americans, perhaps, or the Russians, or the Chinese? British Empire, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, South Africa, all these wonderful people came to our rescue, and I was in England at the time. So I'm very keen on remembering what happened in 1939. It was a bloody close thing, too, that whole business. I also like people that stand out from the others because they're weird. That's why I like Churchill. He was a really odd fellow. Not entirely perfect, like Trump. He wasn't perfect, but he certainly was known like what I call a charismatic adventurer. They take risks.
Do you consider Trump a charismatic adventurer?
Absolutely, yes. He's also an egotist, and I like egotists because they've got self-confidence. They don't want people to love them or hate them. They don't really care. Okay. If you want people to love you, like Obama or what's his name, Blair, you say all the right things, you look nice, you know, you're cool and you're with it. You don't use vulgar language, and you're just so nice. And everybody loves you. But those people are usually rats because no one sees what they're actually doing behind the scenes. So all that smiley, nice guy stuff, you know. I prefer the oddball types. So, like Boris Johnson, no one of them, you know. So you get these people who are not respectable, I'm afraid. I'm not respectable either. I never have been.
You've really come out guns blazing.
Yeah, I'm like that. I'm outspoken. I start arguments going. I have rows all the time, just like the others. You put your foot in left, right, and centre. But I've got nothing to lose, you see. If I had a job to lose, I'd be much more careful.
You've got the best job in the world.
I've got a perfect job, really. I mean, what more can anyone dream of? Being an official wizard. What's the job specifications? What might more prescribed in his proclamation when he made me Wizard of New Zealand? What was it now? Showing the world that New Zealand's on top by altering the world, putting South up, which you can do by a vote on the internet quite easily, if you're allowed to do it. But it wouldn't be allowed to, but it'd be a nice idea. Because if you did vote, we'd have South Africa, all of Africa, black up, white down, would be their preferred position. Latin America, Anglo-Saxons down, Latins up. China, who invented the compass and mapping and everything else, who didn't regard them, they thought south was more often up than north. They didn't really care very much. India would love to be south up. There's also reasons why it'd be nice to have a south up world. All you could do is change the maps, of course.
Yeah, and how's that going to help? So you said it'd be nice to change the maps?
Yeah, just put the map south up and put New Zealand right on the top, which is where Mike Moore would like it to be. And any other decent king, he would also like to see the world south up. And the founders of Christchurch had South-up maps, not published and printed, but they thought of it because they're very smart. I love the founders of Christchurch. They were romantics, they were Gothic revivalists, they love arguments, and a thoroughly good crowd, the founders of Christchurch. Did all the right things, I thought. You wouldn't see a city founded like that anymore, would you? You found a city now, what would it be? A high-tech place full of people's buddies, electronic conveniences, and I don't think about it, in boxes everywhere with horrible windows in. It'd be just terrible. So they couldn't do it. But here in a swamp, with no machinery, just ox carts, and up she goes. In 2 or 3 years, this bloody place was already looking good. Now, 20 years later, you might get one bridge built or one block of flats. Hopelessly inefficient.
Yeah.
Because they're all bureaucrats. You've got to make work for yourself or you lose your job. So you keep inventing work for them.
Just bringing you back to a point you said earlier about you speaking about the city council and Tourism Canterbury and all sorts. You have a bit of a feud with them. We found it when we were trying to find you. Actually, it was a very interesting story.
Such a journey to get to you.
Because the most famous man in New Zealand. All the tourists want to see the wizard. It's everywhere, all over the world. Who's this? Where's the wizard? Where's the wizard? Council not here.
Yeah, every single news source says that you've moved to Oamaru and that's where you live.
I've been here all the time.
You've retired.
Should we tell the story of how we...
Oh, it's one hell of a story, so we'll get into it. So yeah, we found your Facebook page, so we messaged you.
It's not my page. I don't like that. One of my junior wizards runs that. Yeah.
And we'll get into them later, but yeah, that's interesting enough. But so we messaged your Facebook page and we kind of got a response. But yeah, we decided we wanted to go further, so we started by calling up the city council to see if they had any contact information.
And they didn't really help, so we went on the internet.
They really hate me.
Yeah. So we
went on the internet, and everything told us that you'd moved to Oamaru, which we know is only partially the case. So we called the Oamaru City Council, and they said
to call up the I think it's the Whitestone Civic Trust, and so we called up them, and they referred us to a guy called Michael O'Brien, the
bookbinder.
Yeah.
But he was kind of reluctant to give up contact information, so eventually we thought we're not getting anywhere, and we just started calling random shops in Oamaru until eventually a bunch of people were pointing us this one person called Donna Demente.
Donna Demente,
oh, yes.
an artist in Oamaru.
Great artist. She's the queen of Oamaru, really.
We heard if anyone knows where the wizard is, it's Donna. So Ungan's friend, actually, Elizabeth.
Shout out to Elizabeth.
She went down to Donna's gallery because we couldn't get a hold of her.
It's a lovely place, isn't it, the gallery?
Yeah, it's nice. And she got Donna's number. We called Donna, who gave us your email.
And then we got your email, and we sent you an email, and we got back the best email I think I've ever received in my life.
It was a work of art in itself. And all about the Christchurch City Council and Canterbury Tourism and all sorts. So we kept emailing you, but we thought, it's better to come see you in person.
Yes, that's where I am. I'm a real person in a real place. I don't live in a world of books entirely or emails, just to be there. And everyone who has anything to do with Christchurch in the city centre sees me almost every day, except for a few years during the closure of the city centre.
Yeah.
I've been there. You've got to be in a place like Socrates in Athens, like Jesus in Jerusalem. If you're an important person, you've got to be right in the centre of things, and anyone can go up to you and talk to you. And I wear this to make quite sure that nobody... Oh, is the wizard over there? Could you see him? So it's quite obvious that
we found you just like that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a bit of a stakeout over.
It's not far away, is it? About 10 minutes walk.
No, it's just
I was all the time.
Yeah, 7 days of staking out, and
bit of a stakeout, and we eventually found you and came up and had a chat, and now here we are.
They had Christmas break, and
so
now we're back in business. Now we're in contact.
Yeah. So what do you think the feud with the city council? Why are they trying to suppress you and surround you?
Well, they're bureaucrats, you see. Now, bureaucrats, like other bureaucrats, they're all climbing up the greasy pole. They have no love of where they live. They'll take a job at any other town if you pay them more money. So they don't love the town they live in, and I do love Christchurch. They also will lie like troopers to cover up their mistakes, which are massive, huge mistakes. And make awful cock-ups, and there's no feedback. If you're in business and you're stupid, you lose money and go broke. But if you could take money by force through taxes or rates, you could be completely incompetent, like communism in Russia, and no one can stop you. Keep on going. So, now the communists were not like me either, of course. You can imagine how they feel about a wizard. Communists, they hate God, religion, priests, but wizards are worse than priests. We're even more feared than priests.
Yeah.
Because magic is something really weird stuff. We don't like it at all. Priests are never like wizards.
How many wizards are there?
Well, there's 4 in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other two in Christchurch are both live on because they're musicians and they love music even more than words. And that is important because music is more important than words in terms of what's really going on in human beings, because we're basically, we gesture, we make, music's only one communication system, and so are words. Words came later. Apparently, the new theories are that we didn't evolve directly from apes. There was a transitional period when we sang and danced and painted and did all sorts of wonderful things, and we began speaking by singing, and bit by bit we got into words. Now words, ability to manipulate words is a small area of the brain that suddenly got set off. But when that set off, words became more real than the world. And then you get people invent lies about God and heaven. And once you start the lying starts, you're in trouble. But hunter-gatherers lived for tens of thousands of years in a different world from holy people. Holy people live in a world where they want to be immortal. And they can do that by patriarchy, which means that males are superior and therefore they must reproduce themselves and their names and the land they own, and they use women to put their seed in and harvest the result, put their name on it. So patriarchy comes from religion. Priests invented prostitution, which means that women are not supposed to enjoy sex under any circumstances. If you do it for money, that's all right. Babies, but not for fun, ever. So you'll find the whole Bible is full of instructions that you must never, never, never be involved in sex unless it's for babies or to control someone like a king of some alien country. The only exception is Song of Solomon, which is probably a love song which somehow got into the Bible like Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. Sometimes the wrong thing gets in, and it stays there, and it's a lovely thing. It was used for a lot of romantic poetry. So that was one thing, was the inhibition against any form of being alive in the present. You must do it for the future, because your soul will live forever, either in hell or in heaven, or reincarnated around and again. Just being alive was no longer possible once we had words, because once you got words, you got fake news. It's all fake, because words are not the same thing as what actually happens. And you can give the impression of being a fine fellow, and you're killing people everywhere. It's all for their own good, you know. You burn them at the stake for the sake of their immortal soul, you understand. You put them into re-education camps in China for the sake of their souls and their minds and so on. Yeah. So the whole thing's based on conditioning, using words, verbal conditioning, which lasted, I think, until about 1850. And then something really weird happened, and that was the coming of electricity. When you can harness electricity, suddenly you communicate through images, and music can be transmitted at the speed of light. So the whole world suddenly goes into another period, not like the use of machines and metals, but now we've got a new form of conditioning, which we call classical conditioning. That's conditioning of the emotions. Advertising men have been doing it, and salesmen always know that. You don't tell the truth, you just condition them till they get to agree to buy that thing, or they do this. They're not music. You've got no aim in life except to be a consumer. So this is how the conditioning system works. We're now in a different, this is what I came across, the medium is the message. The message itself will be what the medium enables it to be. It can't be independent of the medium. Spoken language is quite different from writing. People who are good at writing quite often hopeless at speaking, and so they make very bad orators, and they'll never be political leaders. They can't do the spin you need for that. No oratory. Without oratory, you have to rely upon written language. You end up an intellectual, in the university.
What do you consider yourself? More of an orator or an author?
An orator, yes. I do write, but it's painful. I don't like writing much. But no, I'm an orator, which means I can't stop talking.
But you are writing a book.
Yeah, oh yes. It took me a long time to get around to it. I've been writing about the last 10 years. It's almost ready to go. It's Wizard's Adventures in Ideology Land.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
When will we expect to see this book coming out?
In about, I hope, 2 months or so. That's the present look. It's self-published, but it can be handled for the big companies. Yeah. And it will be full of theories. One on the living work of art, how it actually works. It's a conceptual artwork that doesn't like conceptual art, because conceptual art is still old-fashioned galleries, art critics, money, value, celebrity artists, all that nonsense. So that's really an attack on conceptual art. The other one is on the universe. They've got the wrong universe. The one they've got now is based on Galileo, who was completely wrong about the universe.
He was wrong?
Galileo was completely wrong. Kepler was on the right track. Kepler was much better science than Galileo. He didn't work for the businessmen like Galileo did. He didn't want to destroy religion like Galileo did. And what he wanted was a world in which there was the love, which comes from a divine source, which is in his cosmology. Magic, which is the mainly Platonic idea of beauty, that is, if the things can be shown to be Platonic solids, that they're better than just some casually ugly thing. And he worked out that the orbits were elliptical. Galileo didn't believe that. He worked out that the moon influenced the tides. Galileo wouldn't believe that either, because he had separation of heavenly power from earthly corruption. And he said that the planets sweep out equal areas rather than going at the same speed in a circle like Plato wanted. So he was a much superior, but he's also a wizard. And the born-agains are turning up in Prague, wanted to get him. They almost killed his mother as a witch. He had to rescue her from the born-again Christians who were around at the time, the fundamentalists, who hate magic. Nobody hates magic more than fundamentalist Christians and Jews and Muslims. Yeah. And they're the ones on the council causing all the trouble in my career, because there are lots of fundamentalist Christians love money and power.
Yeah.
Because Jesus told them they should, you see, and listen to Jesus. Or don't listen to the priests, listen to their own internal little voice that tells them that a man who makes money is a success in the eyes of God.
So do you expect any issues around the release of your book and the city council trying to squash it?
As long as there's if nothing happens, there's no explosion, I've failed. Because I'm not just doing the book. I'm also going to be giving some podcasts, little short talks on various issues, which should cause a huge amount of trouble. If you think that Jordan Peterson causes trouble, it'll be much worse than Jordan Peterson. He's just an old-fashioned religious type. You know?
So the aim is to provoke.
He's a married man with kids, and he's got to pay his mortgage, you see. I don't need money, I just need fun. I die as having fun. I tell you, I just shrivel up and die unless having fun. And having fun is annoying people who are superior, arrogant, snobby, self-righteous. They're just asking for it. They really are. Just to wear this, walk down the street, causes a ructure on certain people. But the children, where's the money? You go, do a high five, okay, you know. Happy dreams to you tonight, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why the book would, if it comes out, will be a series. I'll explain the origins of this model universe that I've got. All I've done is to do a conformal inversion of the mathematical coordinates. Now, Pythagoreans, who believe that numbers are sacred, and they're wrong, because Gödel's incompleteness theory destroys that little belief system. Numbers are pure, words are impure, you know. So they swapped God, who was a speaker, and told him, thou shalt not do this, all that word stuff, for the mathematical God of Descartes. Okay. Because Descartes was so religious. He loved God so much, but his God was a mathematician. Yeah. Can you imagine him? Anyone wanting a God who's a mathematician? Anyway, so that's where you begin the idea of modern science, in which you are outside the universe as a godlike being who can observe things and look at them and measure them. Okay. But Blake would say, if you measure something, you're controlling it. It's a power trip. His idea of the great God was with his dividers to measure everything. So measuring and it's like statisticians. If you can measure people, like the census, once you've got them on paper, you can.
But you don't like the census?
No, because if you take a religious view, it's objectionable, because Satan only appears once in the Old Testament, apart from the wonderful Job, which is not really a part of the story. And he tempts David to hold a census, because David was a warlord. It's only fictional, but it's still an important part of people's belief, to hold a census. Now, the reason that the prophet, Nathan, came up to him and said, look, you mustn't hold a census, it's against God's will. And if you do, you'll be punished. Because David wanted to have enough to tax people and call up for the army, usual stuff. Once you've got them labelled and numbered and branded like an animal, then you can call them up, make them pay taxes, fight wars for you. And he said, but David went ahead and did it anyway, because he got the punishment. And he said, you're going to get terrible. What do you choose? God has given you three choices. You can either lose the next battle or war you fight, or you can have a starvation, a great period of starvation, or you can have a disease that wipes out most of the people. Which one would you choose? Well, I would blame the disease. I'll do the disease one. Takes the disease. Big plague takes place. So he's just being a smart guy. Yeah. Yep. So what would you choose? And that's the only time he appears. And you mustn't hold a census. And the British people would not hold a census until they'd been fighting Napoleon. And he was the one that we had to fight. And in fighting him, we became like him. When you fight someone, you become like your enemy too much. It's a danger. It's best to do what Jesus said, and he said it several times, resist not evil. That requires extremely cunning behaviour. You must use a lot of distraction, a lot of lies, a lot of fancy footwork, all sort of bluffs, like the British had to do for the first couple of years of the war, when the Americans wouldn't be in, when we had to use all sorts of tricks and deceptions, because he had much the most powerful weapons, an army and everything else. So that's why I think we can see that there are messages in the text we can use. So I use that on the Christians, the born-agains in Christchurch. You're evil, you're satanic, you're a devil, but I didn't feel my senses form, and you did. Shut up. And then you get the socialists. Oh, no, I'm against the system. I hate capitalism. But you're living on the welfare. You're getting taxed. Other people's tax. They're paying for your bloody weekly dole payments. I don't take the dole money. I've got no. I haven't even got not only no social welfare, but no tax number. I didn't pay taxes.
Yeah.
So I'm staying out of the world they're in, and they're in this terrible world where they hate someone and become just like them. And every socialist I've known, the first chance they get becomes a capitalist. It's so quick, you can hardly see the difference. Bing! But if you're into something else, like art, for example, or if you're interested in ideas, you don't care about it very much, because that doesn't worry you. Power doesn't concern you very much, as long as it don't bother you too much. And if you've got a bit of some friends around to help you out, you can pursue a career, as I have, without any money much, just because you've got good friends.
Mm.
Wow.
So you have a lot of interesting ideas about religion. So what are your thoughts on like bringing it into a school, since the way that Christ College works? And
You're an ideal place. You're so lucky to be here. It's snobby, it's snooty, it's arrogant, all the right things. What else are you going to be? Some awful little rat who envies the rich. When you Christ College boy, look at him. This horrible rat-like envy of the people outside.
yeah.
But I did not envy the boarders. I was a day boy, one of the few in my school in England.
Mm-hmm.
That was during the war. After the war, I went to grammar school. God, it was ghastly. Anyway, the boarders had a horrible life. We just came in and went out in the evenings, went into the fields and looked for birds' nests and had good fun with it. And they were stuck in the school. So being a boarder, I wouldn't envy them at all.
Yeah. I think the boarders still do have a good time.
Ben Davis here is a boarder.
Our sand guy, yep. I'm sure he.
Well, it makes you tough, I should think. It must be good. You run the empire after that. After being a boarder schoolboy, you can run an empire any time. It's so hard, so tough. But it was, and it was like, no.
Yeah.
So that's my experience, was a mixture of schools. And I'm very lucky. I didn't get educated properly because of the war. Mm-hmm. I was 6 years old when the war broke out, just about to go to school. And I was evacuated to this place, and that place, and this place, and that place. And by the time I was about 11, I'd been to so many schools, they hadn't known, really worked out what I was up to. They couldn't read me and therefore control me. I was still a bit wild. And I went to this scholarship boy, to this family-owned college. I'm enlisted in the old boys of that school to this day.
Wow.
Family-owned college, one of these Thomas Arnold schools, like Christ College, very nice. Old boys, general, there's major there, etc. And the Wizard of New Zealand. I mean, the small list of famous old boys. They've got a wizard as a graduate. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, that is just, who else would do that? It has to be people like me, a bit aristocratic, a bit detached from the riffraff, living up there, and not disliking them, but you don't want to be like them. You've got a nice little life. Why spoil it all? Yeah. And be kind, be polite. Like the squire, being nice to these guys. Because I like peasants too.
Yeah.
Because peasants don't pay tax, so they can avoid them. They grow their own veggies. They don't. They believe in fairies and all sorts of weird stuff like that. Superstition, and they don't bother you. And both socialists and capitalists really hate peasants. They never stop how bad peasants are. And they despise them, and they'll try and kill them if they get the chance. Capitalists want to take the children away from their parents and educate them so they can become middle class. Mm-hmm. And they insist on it. You can't. You've got to go through the school system, you've got to be educated. Why? What about going to church instead? No, that's brainwashing. Going to school 5 days a week, 5 hours, 6 or 7 hours a day for 10 years, that's not brainwashing. Going once a week to church for an hour, that's brainwashing. And you can hear these crazy people going on about what this brainwashing is about. And they take all these poor working class kids, peasants' children, who be on the farm and have big family networks and do deals with each other. And when there's trouble, they help each other out. And you make them into nuclear families living in the town. You then encourage women to disobey their husbands by law. You make it quite clear that men are evil and you can disobey your husband and you get rewarded by the government if you do.
When you say disobey your husband, what do you mean there?
But they must do. If they think the husbands are wonderful and obey them, they're called idiots and fools and mocked and ridiculed by the avant-garde intellectual females of the universities. You can't have a woman who loves her husband and does what she's told. It's unthinkable. It's like having a child that obeys its mother. Unthinkable and disgusting. So you turn child against mother, wife against husband, and man against his sovereign. That's the plan. You just destroy the culture by undermining everything. Mm-hmm. Love has to be seen as the least important thing, and power is all that counts. Empowerment, because every time you empower someone, you get the power, not them.
Yeah.
When you empower a child against their parents, they can leave when they want to and get the government to pay them money if they leave home. Then the government gets the power and you don't. You just become a government slave. But if you empower yourself by being a bloody nuisance and being thrown out of things and no one can control you, you're not paying taxes, that's empowerment of the self.
Yeah.
It's different altogether from power being given to by someone else. Let me empower you. Oh, yeah, no, thanks, I'll do it myself. Let me lead you. No, it's all right, thank you. I'm come here to help you. No, I'll help myself, thank you. So you try and keep away from people who want to help you and do things for you because they want to control you.
You believe in like self?
I think for some people. Again, a lot of people will go with the crowd, and the animals are the same. There's a dominant system in every group of animals and every group of human beings, and you'll see some people are naturally dominant and they take the blame, and some, not my fault, no, he did it, and they're the ones who stay in the bottom, and that's the hierarchy there. Mm-hmm. Like in the Boy Scouts, some people end up, being ideal material for chief, top of the
You were in the
leader.
Boy Scouts, weren't you?
That was very important to me. That was how I woke up, I think. That woke me up. Before that, I was just a bored brat in a hated school. I liked the war because at least you had bombing and you went out each day and got the bits of shrapnel and stuff like that. It was interesting. Better than the nightmares. Nightmares are much more terrifying than German bombers because that's in here, bad stuff, really bad stuff. It's like there are people all over the world now who've got Trump in their heads and they can't get rid of it. They think of Trump all day long. These poor devils, the Trump derangement syndrome. You say they do a Trump, and it's like having Hitler in there or the Antichrist. Poor devils, because they really care.
Yeah.
But if they haven't got that, if they've dealt with this problem, then they know that we're not perfect, that what you think is evil might be in here rather than out there, and be careful you don't have evil thoughts. And this is in most wise men have said this, So the idea of the war was exciting, but the school system was terrible. I really hated it so much. And then the Boy Scouts. It was like an enlightenment. It was like I'd found God. There was nothing ever like it before. I got so keen, this was about the age of 13, I began to sleep in the garden in a tent, even during wintertime in England, on the potato patch. I'd killed the lawn already. I was put on the potato patch because I was that keen to live in the outdoors and be a mate and love Tarzan and Red Indians, not the cowboys. And all my heroes were wild men.
Yeah.
And so that was and I know now that they were all, if we get that chance, we are basically still in here, home hunter-gatherers. We've only had a few thousand years of agriculture and industry. Underneath the surface is the hunter-gatherer. And it's in New Zealand, it's an ideal place, because you've got a hunting here, you can go fishing, you can get out from the towns, and it's a small island, so you won't be governed by a particularly bad bully, because everyone knows each other, so you find out, and you make fun of them if they do take over. So this is why the Boy Scout thing was the first step. And as I mentioned to you coming in, there is nothing quite like the origins of the Boy Scout movement. It was so weird. The man who founded it, Baden Powell, a really weird guy. He didn't want to grow up. He saw Peter Pan. I'm not going to grow up because he had a terrible mother, a bossy, terrible woman. He was a talented artist, a performer. He was a good master of ceremonies. And he just wanted to live in a world of boys. It wasn't homosexuality, it was just he was terrified of women, which is a quite understandable thing to do. Because how many friends of yours end up with a wife and kids and a mortgage in no time at all? They were your mate and suddenly he's gone. And he's got his first loyalty. How many boys dream of having a house which they pay a mortgage on and the only place they call their own is a shed somewhere or a workshop. That's the only place they feel at home in.
Yeah.
And they try and get away from it, fishing now and again, but it's not an easy life. I'm not saying it's awful, there are worse things than that, but it's not what they dream when they were young. We know what we like and don't like. We know what the rules are. You drive on the left, not on the right. That's not morally strong, but good and evil has a moral component that's very powerful.
Yeah.
You feel guilty. And that's Democrats doing to all the Republicans in America now. It's all about guilt, 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 political correctness, guilt, guilt. Why are you that? Because you've got a white skin in your mail. Guilt, guilt, guilt. So that sort of good stuff starts. It gives you power. And the power Eve got was yet the apple. She's talking to herself about this, saying, what shall I do next? I've got this power now. I can make him my slave. But she decides not to, make him her equal instead. So she goes for equality. And they hate each other, they blame each other, they're all unhappy, and God comes along, piss off. So but there's another tree. In the garden, there's another tree.
There's another tree.
A very important one. And the gods, and it's not just one god, they're discussing. What shall we do? They forget, the priests forgot to redact that bit because they were polytheists.
Okay.
But they got this monotheistic king, Hezekiah, who killed all the polytheists and buried them and tore their churches down to make everyone believe in Yahweh, the great conqueror, male only. That came in about 800 BC. Until then, it was quite new, this idea. So in that particular section, Adam and Eve, when God finds out, first of all, that the gods find out, they say quite often in that text, we this and we that, we mustn't let them know about the other tree, which is the tree of life.
Oh.
Don't let them find out about the tree of life.
What do you know about the tree of life?
If they eat of the tree of life, they become like us. So that means you can get to the level of the gods if you eat the tree of life. But so they chucked out before I did that and thrown out. But it was that interesting exchange between God and Adam. God finds out, what have you done? You disobeyed me. I said, whatever you do, you can live forever and have a happy life and no work and no taxes, no worry and no problems. I even got your woman, everything you want. So why did you eat the tree I told you? He didn't say, it's my fault. He said, Eve told me to. When Adam says, Eve told me to, that's the fall of man. He'd rather obey his wife than God. What sort of man is that, Mother's boy.
Mother's boy.
Not a man at all. Just a little boy who hasn't grown up. Oedipus.
Oedipus. Yeah. Classic gag.
So that's how it begins. And it goes on, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And every society hates the one in the past more. For example, all peasants who live just on the land hate hunter-gatherers and kill them every chance they get. Farmers hate hunter-gatherers. Kill them, kill them. If you're an urbanist and you live by manufacturing and selling things on the market, you'll hate every farmer as ignorant peasants, and you've got to get them off the land. So farmers are hated by the businessmen of the cities. But no one hates quite as much as a globalist, a bureaucrat globalist in the city council or some other big council, where the bylaws and the regulations are real and everything else is fake. And these people live in this special world in which nationalism is evil, 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 and religion's evil, 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 but the system, the great global system of finance is real. But money is fake. I mean, let's face it, money is invented. It's just like religion.
Social construct.
So you invent money, and as long as you believe in it, it works. You've got to believe in the guy who issues it, of course.
Do you believe in money?
I regard it as a useful fiction.
Okay.
Like religion. I'm very religious because I like God and religion and churches. I don't have to believe in them. I think it's a very useful fiction. It's good for the family system. It means love's important, not just greed. And I like the religious leaders because they have a pretty tough time up against the businessmen.
You know Bosco as well. He's a
religious
leader.
Yeah, Reverend.
Yeah, he's my sort of guy, he's a decent sort of Christian. I like Anglicans best of all, because Anglican priests have produced the most weird sense of humour. It's really strange. You've got, for example, Stin Swift. I mean, that stuff about Gulliver's Travels and all that stuff's really with the flying island of scientists, the big end, narrow end things, all that stuff. So Swift has this beautiful sense of seeing science what it is, greedy and unpleasant and mucking with materials and weighing moonbeams. And the flying island, they're not in touch with the rest of the world, really. They're being paid by businessmen because scientists have always been paid by businessmen. You won't find one without the other. I mean, the whole idea of the 17th century. Military-industrial complex needs scientists to make better weapons, that make more manufacturing. So, but before that, it was about fertility, which means lots of babies. And then you tell women they're in this world to have babies. Oh, that's the reason I'm here. So each one has a useful fiction. Then you get the movement of other Anglicans. Two of my favourites would be Lewis Carroll
Okay.
and Charles Kingsley, The Water Babies, which is even weirder than, I think it's even weirder than Lewis Carroll. He is. And it was my entire life reading that book when I was a child. Really strange book. And it's got a very Christian message, but it's more than that. It's, to me, and it's full of awful comments and jokes and bizarre people and odd creatures, just like Lewis Carroll. I'm living in a world like that myself. I regard people with beliefs in here as like monsters. That's why I'm titling my book, The Wizard's Adventures in Ideology Land. Once you believe in something, you become really weird. So I've got to be pretty careful. Because when you believe in something, you get a narrative structure. Mm-hmm. And the narrative you must pursue, and it gives you a role. And your role makes you important and rich or respected. So when you find out it's all bullshit, you can't change because you've got it all built up. You've got your role going. So when the man becomes a bishop, he says, I don't believe in God anymore, but I can't give it up now. I've got my friends and my wife and kids. I better pretend I believe. So a lot of people at
You're
the top...
already too deep in there type of thing.
Well, luckily, as a wizard, I didn't have to believe in anything. It's very fortunate. And also, I can be blamed for my own actions. I can't blame God, you see. Okay. If only I could blame God or Satan, it'd be much easier, wouldn't it? Blame them, it's not my fault. Or you blame nature, or blame other people, or blame Trump, or blame some the Freemasons or the Catholics. It helps, but if you can't blame them, you've got to be really smart to get by. You've got to learn from your mistakes and not blame someone else. Mm-hmm. So that's the idea of autonomy. This new group, these are the sexual. You've gone from oral to anal, which is angry and choleric and always complaining and rebelling all over the place. Socialist type, particularly, angry ones. Always distorted like Bernie Sanders.
You don't like Bernie?
He's just an envious. He's very, very rich. He owns many houses. He's a corrupt politician. He's millions in the bank, and he's playing the I care for the poor stuff.
So who's your favourite out of the Democratic candidates?
Any of them really very much. I think probably Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard?
Because she's a warrior. She flew a fighter aircraft. She looks good. She speaks nicely. She doesn't rave on about gender this and gender that or colour, skin colour. So she'd be, I think, the most promising one in that lot. But the other lot are just nothing there at all, in my opinion. Just ravers and loonies who all got on this new green deal. I mean, I've heard some crazy stuff. Really, it's as mad as you can get them, just to get the vote. Once they're in there, of course, it gives them power, but that's what they're going to get.
What about New Zealand politics? Well,
there's only Winston to watch with any interest. The others are all just lying to get votes. But Winston is weird. He loves it. He enjoys it so much.
Yeah.
He's doing it for fun, and that's a damn good reason to do it.
Definitely seems that way.
And the peasants love it. The peasants like him, not intellectuals, not middle classes, not academics. Ugh.
When you're in it for fun, though, is that really? Do we want someone running our country who's just going to do?
It's the only reason to live, in my opinion. Any other reason is very suspect.
What?
Would someone having fun, like coming back to it though, would someone having fun be as good at running our country as someone being more logical?
Just because it kind of seems
because logical people are all bullshit. They're all full of fake stuff. Read my book. All this stuff is rubbish.
I'm looking
so long as it's
fun,
doesn't matter. You see, don't do any harm, do you? Like Christmas trees and the tooth fairy, nothing wrong with that.
You don't think Winston Peters would do any harm?
Oh, of course he will. We all do harm, but less than the others. That's all. The others are much more dangerous.
But when you're doing it mainly just for fun, especially when you're doing something as big as running a country, do you think it's dangerous that someone could not?
No, I'm so pleased that Trump's doing it for fun. That's what he's doing. He doesn't need it. He can leave tomorrow and he's still going to live a life.
You endorse Trump?
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful because he loves being there. He's having fun at the rallies. He makes fun of himself all the time. He laughs at himself.
Yeah.
And he knows it's all fake. He keeps saying it's all fake.
But
you have had your brush with New Zealand politics with Michael Moore recognising you about
Now, he and I are quite different in many ways. He's a Republican and I'm not.
Yes.
But he likes ordinary peasants, and so do I. He's a working men's club type. He's the last of the old real Labour men.
Yeah.
I believe in trade unions too. They're very, very important. You possibly screw you without them, and now they've been destroyed largely.
Yeah.
One of the major ones was, of course, the thing like Lord of the Rings, which destroyed the actors' equity. It's all about wizards, and it's a lovely film. Look what happened to the actors' equity to make that bloody film.
Yeah.
Great filmmaker, but look what happened behind the scenes.
So you say you do like trade unions, but when we were reading your email, you said you're not fond of the unionisation of staff at schools, teachers.
Yeah. Public servants shouldn't join a union.
No.
Why
They're
not?
a profession. Professions are like doctors. If they join a union, they become workers.
What about getting their rights?
There are no rights. You've got to be good at it. Rights were invented by French revolutionists.
Yeah.
They came out of nowhere. What you've got is the rule of law and common law, which I adhere to very strongly. It's most important. But rights are invented for political reasons.
Okay.
The rights of women, rights of men, nonsense. As a British subject, you have certain rights, and they're very good ones. Being British, being bloody French or German, or Spanish. You've got to know where you stand in this. We are the luckiest bit in the world to have very good history of common law privileges. Back to Arthur. Well, Arthur would say Alfred anyway.
Alfred, yep.
And you get it through all the way through, and the crown's a key part of that. Without the crown, it would soon become a dictatorship. We've been finished.
But then when you said rights, I couldn't help but notice you differentiated between British men, Hispanics, etc.
Oh, I'm not foreign. I'm British. I'm not foreign. No type of foreigners. If they decide to become British, I'll let them think about it and discuss this at the citizenship ceremony. Okay, then maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, we don't want to get too political because it's
So I'm like Trump. Trump
We're going to
says,
have to cut out a lot of
Trump says, make America great again.
Yeah.
And everyone in the intellectuals hate that. They don't want America great again. They want to be politically correct.
Yeah.
They don't care if the country falls apart, everyone dies, but they've got to be morally superior, like the Puritans. They are Puritans, like the ones who destroyed the Britain in the 17th century. And after Cromwell and his armies had gone away and Charles came back, it never happened. No one admits there was a civil war and we had a republic. No such thing, no. And then a French king, King Louis. No such thing. We tend to remove these unpleasant things from our past, which everyone does. A French king of England? Amazing. Republic? What? No stuff. So this is the useful fiction stuff. You build up a nice history. Remember, there's a wonderful book called 1066 and All That.
1066 and All
It's
That.
a wonderful book. It's only short. It describes history as 5 good things, 7 good great kings, 2 and just gives dates and 2 interesting dates. Because history is all bullshit. Because you must give one good thing. Without a good thing, it's just logic, and logic doesn't lead anywhere. So how can you write history without something? Well, it's a good thing. Then from that you build forwards and backwards and everywhere else.
I think we've established you're not
So you bring a moral absolute into the middle of your logical history to make it work.
Yeah.
And I bring in, of course, you might have guessed it by now, Merlin and King Arthur. They're my moral absolutes. The evidence for the existence of Merlin and King Arthur is no better than the existence of Moses, David, and Solomon. No proof at all. But what Jew want to believe in David and Solomon? Of course they would, as part of their culture. If you say, I think Merlin was a great figure, oh, it's all made up. What about, the others aren't, because they're real, see. But if you're British, you don't have to believe they're true. You have to love them, that's the only important thing. And the story, you have to love the story, like you love the Psalms. And the battle of the Old Testament, it's like the Iliad.
Okay.
That's not true at all. It's bullshit, begin to end. But it's a great story.
Yeah.
And so you live in a world of fictions. We live in virtual reality. We've got no other choice. The moment you stop being an animal and start using words and gestures, you're in a fantasy world. We're all on a stage acting a play out. And Shakespeare was spot on. It's all about acting out parts in a play.
Well, you say we live in a virtual reality.
Yeah.
To bring it to a much lighter topic, have you tried virtual reality, as we call it?
Oh, that's just a technical gimmick. No more. It's not important at all. It's all out there. For example, is the world south up or north up? Is the Earth flat?
Right back into it.
Back to the universe again. If you invert the coordinates of the present model, the Earth becomes an entire huge hole. And the universe is now inside it. And there's no proof it's true or false. It's just one of possible models. There is no real universe. It's what the boss says it is.
Wow.
Humpty Dumpty was right.
Who's Humpty Dumpty?
Humpty Dumpty says to Alice, when you use a word, what do you mean by it? When I use a word, it means what I want it to mean. And the question is, who's the boss, or who's the master, he says. If you control the dictionaries, the encyclopedias, you control that particular reality. You control the TV networks, you control that one. You control the Bible, because the other peasants can't read and you can, you control religion.
Yeah. Interesting.
When you print Bibles out, they can read this stuff, then it all starts.
You use the word peasants continually throughout today. What do you mean? I'm quite unsure.
A peasant is someone who basically doesn't believe in education or economic development.
Okay.
He just believes in growing his own veggies. Family relations are really important to them. and they mind their own business, and they don't believe in voting for anybody.
So you're not using it as a derogatory term at all, just so we're clear
Everyone
on
else
that.
does. I don't. I'm the one that doesn't use it. As
Just
such.
to be clear on that for the audience as well, the
They aren't
wizard
as
is
good as
not using it.
They aren't as good as hunter-gatherers. They're not as good as the North American.
They're sort of the.
Not as good as North
You
American
believe them
natives.
to be the top, don't you?
Not as good as the Aboriginals, but they're okay.
Okay.
Next step down from hunter-gatherer is peasant.
Okay.
Next step down is businessman in the city making money in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Next step down is a bureaucrat.
Oh.
Taxing by force.
You don't like-
taking income tax by force.
You're not a fan.
Theft.
Do you pay tax? What?
Hmm?
Do you yourself subscribe to?
I pay direct taxes on goods, of course, because I don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
But when a third of your hard work goes to some bastard who's going to throw it away on some idiot global warming scam, not
You don't believe in global warming?
it's absolute rubbish.
Well-
I know too much about science.
Okay, this is
What I
this is
do
a topic of
is-
its own.
What I do know is that the biosphere is collapsing. The whole biosphere is about to go. Factory farming, factory fishing, massive pollution by consumerism. No one mentions that. Oh, I can sell some wind turbines. I can make some solar panels, make a fortune out of it. It's a racket. And it's magic. Global warming is this. Look at this bright, shiny object. Don't watch what the other hand's doing.
See,
The whole biosphere is about to go. Factory fishing destroys the sea and all its life in the sea. Factory farming destroys the food remnants of the earth.
But that's all part of climate change.
No,
isn't
it's not to do with the climate change. It's to do with destroying the biosphere. The fact that temperature may go up a degree and down again is not important. It's gone down before. Over hundreds of years, it goes up and down, up and down.
So-
and also, CO2 doesn't have that effect. And you can even use CO2 to make energy as long as you let people who are intelligent have a go at it. And we can't even have atomic. If you want to stop the pollution in the air and all the people dying in China, atomic energy power stations
How
do
do
a
you
good
make
job.
energy out of CO2? Could you explain it to us?
Oh, I'll send you a thing in the post on that. I can't put it in now.
interesting. Another thing we wanted to bring up is
See through the illusions. There's the illusions.
Let's look past them.
See that, guys?
Everybody.
Trash. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, another thing we wanted to bring up is we were reading the thing that was written up for you about your duties as a wizard,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
and we saw one was Bliss New Enterprises,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
and we thought we could.
We're a new enterprise.
We are a new enterprise. We could
Well, bloody
take
good on you.
advantage of this.
Entrepreneurialism, vitally important.
So we were wondering if you would like to do kind of a spell or some kind of mystical wizard kind of.
Or however you'd like to believe.
Well,
us.
it'd be nice if smoke, stuff like that, but so it's very hard to make it impressive without a smoke machine, I think. So.
Oh, we'll edit it in
I'm
post.
sure you have enough pizzazz yourself to make it impressive. You don't need any machine.
Well, I can do the pizzazz stuff, all right, then.
Okay,
What's
well,
the name of the enterprise?
The college project.
A college project.
should we
should we
adjust this
stand up?
camera?
Hang on, let me get this in frame.
So by all means, stand up. Do whatever you've
Oh,
got
you've
to
got to
do.
stand up for this. You don't have to.
do we have
You better stand up, really, I think, yes. It's like a laying on of hands.
Hang on, let me make sure this is good.
Let me just
Here
make
we
sure
go.
I've got the.
I'm so excited for what's about to happen.
I've been waiting for this all week.
Should we hold hands? What do we?
Just
Should we hold hands?
Just look up in awe and admiration, as we have to do at me when I'm doing the spell.
Is this in shot bin?
Oh, great spirit, who loves young lads trying to escape from the prison of a job in a boring office somewhere, bless this enterprise called College Project.
Whoa!
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
so
a
much.
natural born entrepreneur myself.
That
of
was-
course.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.